What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Now, recently, my good friend Ryan Fitzsimons let slip that he was making a wrestling podcast, and I heard through the grapevine that he was going to be doing that wrestling podcast with a handsome, talented, charming, glasses-wearing, long hair having friend and colleague of his, and I was honoured. Oh, I couldn't wait. And then it was Billy Kirkwood. And that makes a lot more sense because he's a lot more funny, handsome and charming than me. But we'll remember that one for next time, Ryan. Okay? That's been noted. But recently, with the release of their first episode of their new podcast, Wrestling Forever, I will leave a link to that down in the description. It's a very, very good listen, a very good watch. You should absolutely go check it out. Very good show. They discussed things that they like and they don't like in the current state of modern day professional wrestling. And one of the things that was brought up was the Bloodline. And this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. The Bloodline... What's the fucking point at this point? I don't care. I do not care. Obviously, the Roman Reigns story throughout COVID was incredible. Roman Reigns coming back, becoming the head of the table, the tribal chief. All of these things has been great. But over the course of these 4 years, the story has just become more and more diluted. It started with this new era of Roman Reigns, this new character, and he turned his back on his family. He killed the Jey Uso, and then he spent years manipulating and mentally and emotionally and physically abusing the Usos to keep them in line, to keep them in control, to keep them subservient. And then eventually they turned on him, and it made sense, right? He's brought in Solo. He trusts Solo more than them. They're the ones that helped him throughout so much of his journey as champion for those 1,000 days. It was the Usos that had his back. He helped and raised the Usos' stock massively. They became, I think they held the tag titles for the longest time ever. The Usos and Roman Reigns as a trio were incredible. And then Solo gets called up. He starts trusting Solo more. It sows some seeds of dissension in the ranks. Jey turns, Jimmy turns, they leave. Then Jimmy turns on Jey again so they can set up a brother-brother match at WrestleMania, even though it made no sense for him to turn back. It was very clear he was only turning back on Jey to set up Jimmy versus Jey at WrestleMania, which sucked. There's no two ways about it. That match was just awful. And now we have all these absolute bullshit storyline contrivances to get us to the end goal instead of letting these stories tell themselves naturally and work it out as we go, because Dwayne is involved and Dwayne wants the spotlight because he's in bad movies that do bad. Hi, Red One. But recently I think it's taken a turn for the worst. Recently I think it's taken a turn for, I think the way these stories are being told is really bad. I think it's very clear that someone high up in the company, probably with a shiny bald head and a big tribal tattoo over his pec, is calling the shots. It's very clear that there's someone in the company saying, I want to have a WrestleMania match now, and I want it to be this, so it's going to be this. But the problem with that is how do we get there? And with War Games coming up, the War Games was always going to be New Bloodline versus OG Bloodline. But with War Games coming up, War Games is in 2 weeks? And it was last week or the week before, where after all this time, after all these years of emotional abuse and manipulation, and I've been very vocal about how Jey Uso went from one of wrestling's most nuanced and complex and incredible characters throughout the Roman Reigns saga to now he just says yeet, and that's his whole character. And he cuts one of the first real promos I've seen Jey Uso cut in over a year, when he says to Roman, he's like, you want me to be on your side again, you want me to side with you. After all that you did, after all that you did to me, after all that you did to my brother, after everything that's happened, there was the Hell in a Cell match. There is then the gaslighting and manipulating him to get him back on side because he is the tribal chief and I am family, and family means more, when it never mattered to Roman. All Roman wanted was someone to protect him and make sure it was harder for people to take that title off him. That you look at everything that Roman done to Jey throughout those years, and he gives this promo and he says everything, and then Roman just grabs a mic and goes, yeet. Yeah, but yeet. I said your catchphrase now. Oh, and we're friends again. Okay. And then Sami Zayn gets back involved. Obviously Sami was with the Bloodline. Sami then turned on the Bloodline because they murdered his best friend of his whole life in front of him and tried to get him to do it again. And now he's just turned back and sided with them. Because wrestling babyfaces are fucking stupid. And now, the new Bloodline have added Bronson Reed, who I didn't understand that. I knew, obviously, you look at Bronson Reed, he's obviously of Polynesian descent. I did find out that Bronson Reed does have Samoan heritage, so I like that. I'm obviously less annoyed with that than I would have been otherwise. I mean, we all know whenever they sign a Fatu or an Anoa'i or just anyone of Samoan descent at this point, it's more than likely they're going to use them in a Bloodline story. But I like the addition of Bronson Reed. It means that this new Bloodline isn't just. I mean, that's kind of not just isn't just for the family, but Bronson Reed you kind of didn't see coming. I think that he's a good shout. He's a good pick. Him and Jacob Fatu just moving like all-time movie villains. Both of them are people that the Power Rangers would need at least 3 episode arcs to defeat. I'm talking at the end of the season when they've got all the new stuff as well. Still going to need like 3 episodes to take these guys out. So I'm okay with the addition of Bronson Reed there, but then that begs the question. That means we now need a 5th member for Team OG Bloodline. And who's it going to be? Who is someone with a long, complicated, storied history with Roman Reigns, who has also recently had some beef with Bronson Reed? They're going to undo a decade of storytelling. They're going to undo over a decade of storytelling. And they're going to undo the last few years of storytelling. For Seth and Roman to just go, what were we like? Put it there, brother. It's bad, it's lazy, and it's insulting to the audience. It's insulting to people who have spent their lives watching this product. It's insulting to people who have invested so much time into following and watching and keeping up with WWE. The fact that after everything that Roman and Seth have been through, we're just to believe that Seth is just going to put all that aside because he's just recently had beef with Bronson Reed. Let's not forget that Roman's hatred of Seth runs so deep that he chose to get his own back on him at WrestleMania, which ultimately cost him his championship that he'd held for over 1,000 days. His hatred of Seth Rollins, the character of Roman Reigns' hatred of Seth Rollins, is so great and so deep that he cost himself the one thing he held dear in his championship just to attack Seth Rollins again. He has never, ever forgiven Seth for what he did. And if we're just to believe that because Roman's a babyface now and he said yeet, and Bronson Reed has just recently had a feud with Seth Rollins, that Seth's going to go, I remember how much hatred this man had for me, not even a year ago. This year. But it's fine because I don't like the big Australian man and he doesn't like the big Australian man. Now, I've not watched Raw from last night. I do believe it was pre-taped last night. There is a chance that it's not. Seth Rollins in on the Team Original Bloodline. However, it absolutely fucking is going to be Seth Rollins, and it's just bad. It is a bad idea. To put it simply, what this does is it just insults the intelligence, and it insults the intelligence of the fans, and it also insults the fans who have stuck around for so long. Like I said, the idea that we've seen all of this complex character development over all these years for it to be undone in the space of weeks, instead of telling this story over time with Roman really repenting for what he's done and really feeling the weight of his actions over these past 4 years and longer, and Seth doing the same, and both of them eventually slowly but surely making their way back to each other to forgive each other and to, unite and do something like this. That is a story that should be told over a very, very long time. Roman turning face and making amends with Jey Uso should have been told over months. Jey Uso should have refused. Jey Uso should have said, nah, I'm done. You don't get me near you. You don't get to say that I should come back just because you've turned good, just because you hate Solo now. You don't get to do that. I'm the one that gets to decide when this is done. I'm the one that you traumatized and you abused and you gaslit and you made my life hell. I'm the one that says when this is okay. That should have been told over the course of months. Because even if we are sort of panic booking around Dwayne's insecurities and the fact that Red One was never going to do well anyway, we all knew that War Games was going to be Bloodline. So why have we not been telling this story over the course of months, so that when we get down to it and we're nearly there, we can just say, oh hey, Jey Uso has forgiven Roman Reigns and it now makes sense. I just think what the Bloodline story has become over time, the Bloodline story in the way it was and the way that Roman kind of adapted his game with the 30-minute like matches and him, talking halfway, spending half the match talking. All of that was kind of done in an era where you kind of had to do that. There was no live crowd to play up to. You were doing that to the audience at home. But now that we're here, and a lot of these sort of Bloodline focused matches kind of follow this pattern because it's proved successful in the past. As someone who watches from home, I can't help but feel like that is not the way to do it, because we should no longer be putting these matches on for the people at home. The matches should be done first and foremost with the people in attendance in mind. And even though there's always going to be more people watching from home than there are in the stands, especially for, well, maybe not in all wrestling, but in terms of WWE, AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, all of these companies, there will be more people watching from home than there will be watching in the arena. However, you need to play to your immediate surroundings to elevate that match. And I feel like that's something that's been lost throughout this Bloodline story. I mean, Jey and Jimmy was bad because both of them do... Let's count their moves. They do this. They do super kicks. Jey does a spear. They do Samoan drops. Just grab a fucking wrist lock, man. Lock up. Lock up. That match is never going to be good because I think they're both incredibly limited as singles performers, and I don't hide that. I think both of them are limited as singles performers massively. Jay's got a connection to the crowd that you just can't recreate. Something that I don't get. The Yeet thing is annoying, and it stole one of the most nuanced characters from us. I've been very vocal about my thoughts on Jey Uso as a single star, and how I think it just kind of proves that the core WWE audience don't deserve happiness. But even that match was done. A lot of that match was kind of built, that WrestleMania match. A lot of that was done around the idea of the people at home, people watching it on the network, people that can hear what they're saying to each other, and it's not made with the person who paid $700-800 to be fucking in the stadium, even though they're miles away. So I don't love what the Bloodline story has become. I don't love what it's becoming now, definitely not. I don't love how everyone is just deciding to turn their back on years and years of storytelling because we want to get Rock versus Roman. There's a very easy way to do Rock versus Roman. The Rock can just say, hey, I'm The Rock. And Roman can go, okay, you want to fight. And that's it. Obviously, War Games was always going to happen. I don't think it needed to be 5-on-5, especially if it means that we're just going to see Seth and Roman just go, what was all that about? Sorry about that. Yeah. My feelings on the Bloodline are very clear, and I feel like I just had to get out here and say them here on this platform. Now, I will definitely be coming back on here with a smug fucking grin when it is Seth Rollins, and everyone on Twitter is upset by that. But I don't think what the Bloodline are doing and what Roman is doing is entirely helpful to professional wrestling, because if you and I need to kind of explain that in a way that I won't have. I mean, if Bloodline fans think this video anyway, I'm cooked. Look at the fucking Nuke Jonas tweets for like 3 days by him saying that he's not a fan of what's going on. I think if you're a new wrestling fan, say you started watching wrestling over the pandemic, and your first memories of wrestling are, head of the table, gaslighting McQueen, Roman Reigns, and you're watching him, put these headlocks on and talk to his opponent, and that's been picked up by the camera, and they're in the Thunderdome, or they're even the trainees are there or whatever, and you're seeing these long, borderline cinematic matches with the storytelling being told in a way that's very explicit. The storytelling is being shoved in your face. The storytelling is Roman going, you want to leave the Bloodline or whatever he's saying. Roman Reigns, he's like, you're my little cousin. But the storytelling isn't being done in subtle ways that reward you for watching week to week, because at the end of the month, you can just watch Roman on the pay-per-view and he's going to say everything that you missed by not watching weekly TV to his opponent when he's got them in a chinlock. But then you have people now on Twitter who seem to think that storytelling and what you do in the ring aren't mutually exclusive. Whereas if you watch professional wrestling and it's being done with the audience in attendance in mind, and you're watching week to week, and say week to week, the story has been, I don't know, fucking Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay hit the Tiger Driver on Bryan Danielson, caused his neck to get all fucked up, more than it already was. Then for months and months and months, refused to do the Tiger Driver. Now, I don't think that story held so much weight because Bryan Danielson was on TV and was having the best matches of his life. And on the show that he finally brought the Tiger Driver back, Danielson was in the main event. However, it still does make sense. Will Ospreay goes, I nearly ended the career of one of the greatest ever by dropping him on his head with this Tiger Driver. I don't feel comfortable using it no more. Even though he's cool, I don't feel comfortable using that shit. Then he wrestles MJF, the most despicable man in all of professional wrestling. Dropped that son bitch right in his head. And everyone in Wembley went insane because we knew since March, this was now in August, since March, for 5 months, Will Ospreay has been grappling with the repercussions of doing that move. That is storytelling. So, to sum up my thoughts on what's going on right now, the Bloodline storyline is currently the most creatively bankrupt it has been. It is the most creatively bankrupt thing happening in professional wrestling right now. I think that what they're doing, if it is going to go where it more than likely is going to go, it is bad. It is a net negative for professional wrestling if Seth Rollins just goes, sorry about all that, big man, we're sound now. All because they want to appeal to the whims of an insecure bald man who can't get people into movies? Who knows? So yeah, those are my thoughts on everything. Just now, bit of a long one, bit of a rambling one. If you're a Bloodline stan and you're here to call me names, well, at least watch the whole video. Help me get my watch time up, okay? So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this all down in the comments below. Let me know that I'm an idiot because Roman Reigns at cinema. They should be winning Emmys for a thing where him and Cody Rhodes stand in the ring and look at each other. You should do Emmys for that. You should go Emmy. Tell me I'm an idiot because of that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.